Connie Sziebel is from Supervisor Knabe's office, and she has been so gracious as to come here today and just kind of give us a quick update on what's going on with the Terminal Avenue Storm Drain Project. And what is that? You might not know. But if you lived over at Termino in Anaheim, for sure you'd know why it was needed. And this is it. This is a project that's been in the works about 20 years, and the supervisor has done a good job of giving us a voice at the county level to get this project underway. And you can see this. I mean, this is the real deal. This happened. It floods over there, and so what they need is a new, larger drain to take the water out into the ocean. And that's what's under construction right now, and she's going to update us what this means to us.
It took a while for all the plans to gel and for the money to be there. $23 million that the county is putting, and the city of Long Beach is $2 million. Most of this time, this 16 months, we have been in Gary DeLong's area, but now we are working heavily in your area, and that's why Brittany is here to tell you what is going to be happening, what is going to be closed, and how long we are going to be here. And she brought her cards. She has a bunch of them back there, so if you have any questions, any complaints, call her.
Hi everybody. Thank you, Connie, for the intro. Okay, your area starts at the Community Gardens, which is Wild Oats Community Gardens at 10th Street and Grand. And then we, as you can see on the map, which is also back there, we head up that direction. We come out of the gardens and go on Loma to 11th, and then we turn on 11th until we hit Redondo, and then we go up to Redondo and Anaheim. And that's the end of that particular run, which is in this district. Unfortunately, those are some pretty major streets, and with all construction, we're going to have some traffic delays, some dust occasionally, but we're trying our best to minimize the impacts as best as possible, because I know we don't want to inconvenience anybody along the way. But this is going to be a great project, especially for that area, because of the flooding that we saw here on the photos that Connie brought. We anticipated completion date because we are ahead of schedule. We're expecting by September of this year will be completed, and that would complete all 3 phases of our construction project, which is just over 2 miles of storm drain. And that should alleviate almost all of the flooding in this area.
And when you, real quick, I mean, just envision the hole for this project is probably the width of this room, right?
It's about 20 feet wide.
20 feet wide, how deep?
25 feet deep right now.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a massive project. This isn't a light project.
Wow. Yeah, so with such a huge hole, there are going to be some impacts, but we're trying our best to minimize everything. We appreciate everybody's patience as we go through here. But like I said, we're trying to move as fast as possible. There's hiccups here and there, but we try our best to be proactive and move ahead.
And if you by any chance would like to see some of the work that is maybe close to your house and you would like a tour, we would not be to arrange it.
Yeah, how deep is it?
It depends on where you are. We're currently excavating in the Greenbelt area off of 7th and Bennett. All the way, it spans from 7th to 8th.
It's a low point.
That's a very deep location. We're at about 22 feet to the bottom, and we're at about a 20-foot wide trench. We're also pretty deep as we come up Terminal. We're at about 20 feet, but we're much narrower there because the size of our box gets smaller when we get up there because it's a smaller run, and that's right where we branch out. Yes, sir.
You mentioned the marina. Is this part of this goes through the Colorado Lagoon thing also? That was something else.
That was a different project. Our project, all of the water runs into Marine Stadium. So we did do work alongside the Colorado Lagoon, but we took all of the storm drains, the existing storm drains that were draining into Colorado Lagoon, we're putting those into our box, we're treating the water, and then it goes out into Marine Stadium. Yes?
So the pipes are just too small before? Did they not predict correctly, or?
Well, the problem with Long Beach is it's so close to sea level that when it becomes high tide, it backs up all of the storm drains. And much like the storm we had January of last year, it was high tide and we had a very severe intensity storm. So because you have those two things come together, that's what creates the flooding. So our storm drain is going to be much larger, although we do have the tidal water in there. it allows for a greater capacity so we can contain that water until the tide goes down and then it'll go out to the ocean. Yes.
So all the trash going through there?
Not necessarily. We have, on all of the catch basins we're installing 111. We have these metal screens that will go on them, and that will keep trash out, and the street sweeper will be able to collect it as it goes by. When sometimes they get clogged with leaves, and in that instance, they're not gonna drain well, so it has a lever that it'll open up and allow the water to come in, when it gets to a certain level. So they won't be flooding any areas. They're meant to open up and let the water drain. We're also installing a low flow diversion, which is in the Greenbelt area. We have yet to start working on it yet. But that main purpose is to take the water that's coming into the catch basins upstream on a low flow basis. So summer runoff or not a rain event, it'll treat the water at this location and then it'll pump it into the sewer system. It won't treat it at that location. It'll pump it into the sewer system and then it'll be treated and then it'll be disposed of properly. So a lot of this water will be treated, and if not, we have these screens on all of the catch basins that will prevent debris from getting in and out into our ocean. Yes?
All this digging going on, have you run into any interesting archaeological artifacts?
No, actually, we do have an archaeologist on site while we are digging through the old Pacific Electric right-of-way. Unfortunately, we found a couple of bottles, but they don't date back too far. She's there every single day hoping to find something interesting, but
No bodies?
unfortunately just no bodies, no dinosaur bones, nothing of real significance. We have a couple of neat little wine bottles from the 50s, but that's about it.
I guess you got a lot of
Yeah. Fortunately, that wasn't a delay at all for us, so we're able to just speed right through. Yes?
Sorry, can you talk about the impact on Redondo and Anaheim?
Yes, we'll be working.
Even with a high tide, that'll still flow now?
Mhm.
Okay.
Because the storm drain is big enough that it can take the flow of water coming in from the streets and just collect it. So then when the tide goes down, all that water will flow.
But so the high tide still affects it?
It will a little bit, but not enough that it will impact us like it did before. It'll collect the water, but it won't back up into the
Increased
streets.
capacity will hold the backup until such time as the tide takes it out.
Exactly.
But it would still remain as, it will require FEMA flood insurance in some of those areas. It is considered by FEMA to be a flood area.
What's the size of the drain?
It varies by location. Down at Marine Stadium, that's the biggest stretch. It is, give me a second to do the math here, we're at about 18 feet wide and 10 and a half feet tall. There's two boxes, so they're side by side with a center wall, and that runs that size from Marine Stadium all the way up to Park and Fourth. And then we get into a little bit smaller of a box. It's only 5.5 feet high, and about the same width. Now, when we get to 8th and Termino, that's when our box stops, and then we go into pipe, and we have 72-inch pipe from that point on. So the further we get away from Marine Stadium, the smaller our pipe is getting because we have such large capacity on the back end.
So if a box is not a pipe, it's like a vault.
Yeah, it's a
Move the pipe.
square.
Square pipe.
Yeah, it's a square concrete.
It had to be poured in place.
In place.
Yeah,
Oh, you
it's
poured it? Oh,
Yeah.
it's poured.
Kind of a holding tank.
Out of the holding tank?
Kind of a
Kind.
holding tank.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
It's still a square pipe.
Yeah.
It's a square pipe.
Yeah, it's not round. It's square. Yes.
It's not open.
Great. Well, any more questions, real quick? Great. Well, I want to thank these two, and if they have any questions, I'm sure you can call my office. I will meet with Connie. She does a great job out in the village. I also just want to thank Supervisor Knabe.